If your blessing hasn't arrived yet, stay with me until the end. St. Anthony is already prepared to surprise you because the impossible does not exist. We're not here by accident. This sacred moment was written in heaven for everyone burdened by pain, weighed down by bills, broken relationships, and silent suffering. This is not just another prayer. This is the moment your miracle begins. O gentle and miraculous Saint Anthony, we come to you today with hearts torn by desperation. We carry wounds we can't explain, debts we can't repay, and fears that won't let us rest. But we believe that the same hands that held the Christ child are now extended to us. We cling to the promise that through your powerful intercession, the chains of the impossible will begin to break. This is the hour of our deliverance. If you believe your miracle is already beginning, write in the comments. Amen. I believe St. Anthony is moving for me. St. Anthony, beloved friend of those in desperate situations, we cry out to you in this sacred moment. You, who once lifted the broken and restored the hopeless, see the hidden battles in our hearts. We ask you to present our needs before the throne of God, not just the spoken ones, but also the silent prayers trapped behind tears. For those in financial emergency, those with shattered families, and those in need of healing, we invoke your holy help. You have never turned away those in pain. Let your miraculous intercession now open the door we cannot budge. To the soul, crying alone in the night, wondering if anything will ever change, this is not the end. St. Anthony, whisper their name to the Father. Let urgent miracles begin to unfold. To the one who's watched their marriage crumble, their children drift away, and their heart break beyond words, let your grace rebuild what the enemy has tried to destroy. And to the one drowning in bills, unable to sleep, terrified of tomorrow, you are not forgotten. The God of provision is still working. Through this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles, let heaven answer now. This prayer isn't just sound, it's a weapon, a lifeline. Impossible requests are bowing right now to the authority of heaven. But dear friend, don't walk away just yet. There's a word coming that your soul cannot miss. St. Anthony is already interceding, but the full blessing comes to those who stay until the end. Don't stop now. There's something sacred about what's about to be released. This moment will become the beginning of your breakthrough. If your heart is still believing, even after everything, comment, I won't give up. My miracle is coming. When heaven hears the cry of the desperate. There's a moment when life presses so hard that even breathing feels like a burden. Maybe that's where you are right now, staring at bills you can't pay, a diagnosis you didn't expect, or silence in a home that once held laughter. But let me tell you something deeply true. This is the kind of moment where miracles are born. Not because you're strong, but because you're weak enough to let heaven take over. And St. Anthony, the gentle protector of broken hearts, knows this space well. He is not just a saint of the past. No, he is a present help in your urgent miracle. He walks into rooms where desperation lives. He stands beside the mother praying for her son to come home, the father asking for one more chance, the elderly woman unsure how she'll eat next week. He sees what no one else does, the quiet collapse of the soul, and with divine authority he brings light into that collapse. The beauty of a miraculous prayer to St. Anthony is that it doesn't need perfect words. It just needs a willing heart. The kind of heart that says, Lord, I'm out of answers, but I still have faith. And faith is the currency of heaven. It's what moves mountains, opens closed doors, and makes impossible things suddenly possible. St. Anthony doesn't ask for eloquence. He responds to surrender. Picture this, a woman with nothing but pennies to her name kneels beside her bed. Her children are hungry. She has no idea what to do. She whispers the name of Saint Anthony, clinging to this prayer that works instantly. The next morning, a neighbor knocks with a box of food. She weeps, not just because her needs were met, but because she knows God saw her. That is the power of this moment. If your soul is tired, your heart breaking, and your hope dim, you are in the perfect position for a miracle. St. Anthony's intercession is not limited by your past, your bank account, or your strength. He intercedes for those who are done pretending, for those ready to say, "Lord, I can't do this alone." That's when heaven leans close. That's when chains begin to fall. Let's talk about those chains, the ones that bind you to fear, to failure, to shame. Maybe you've tried everything, therapy, budgeting, apologies, and still, it's like nothing works. That's because some battles aren't won by effort, but by surrender. And when you place your trust in this infallible prayer to St. Anthony, you're not giving up, you're giving it to God. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you choose to walk anyway, through the valley of uncertainty, over the bridge of prayer, right into the arms of a miracle. This prayer isn't just a hope, it's a miracle prayer today. Right now, at this very moment, heaven is moving because of your faith. Even if you don't see it, it's real. A man once prayed this same prayer with trembling hands. He had lost everything, job, dignity, peace. But he dared to whisper, "Saint Anthony, please help me." That night, an old friend he hadn't heard from in years called with a job offer. That's not luck, that's divine orchestration. That's what happens when you partner your cry with the power of a very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony. He is the patron saint of desperate cases, and nothing is too desperate for him. Whether you've lost your money, your family, your health, or your will to keep going, he sees you. And not just sees you, he fights for you. He goes before you, opening doors no man can shut. This is not the end of your story. This is your turning point. It begins with one decision: to believe again, to say, maybe, just maybe, God is not finished with me, because he isn't. He's just getting started, and St. Anthony is carrying your name into his holy presence, pleading for mercy, favor, restoration, and breakthrough. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, here, now, praying in faith. You might feel like you've been forgotten, like your prayers bounce off the ceiling, but in heaven, your voice is heard, your tears are counted, and your pain has a purpose that God is redeeming. Through this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles, the divine is touching your reality. Something is shifting, even if you can't see it yet. Family restoration doesn't begin in the courtroom, it begins in prayer. And maybe the person you're praying for is stubborn, distant, even cruel. But hearts that seem hardest are often the ones most ready for divine surgery. Invite St. Anthony into that space, speak their name in faith, and then step back, because God knows how to restore. Now let's touch the subject that too many are afraid to admit: money. Bills piling, income disappearing, anxiety rising. You're not alone, and you're not cursed. Heaven's provision has never run dry. This emergency prayer for financial advancement was made for moments like this. The mailbox may be empty, but your miracle is not. If you've lost something, peace, money, your path, or even your joy, this is a prayer to St. Anthony for finding lost things. But not just physical objects. Lost purpose, lost strength, lost dreams. He is the holy finder of what once felt gone for good. And right now, through this prayer, he's helping you find yourself again. Healing, too, is moving through this moment. Not just physical healing, though God can touch every cell in your body, but emotional healing. The kind that lets you breathe again. The kind that says, I am not what happened to me. This is what Saint Anthony does. He restores what trauma tried to take. Have you ever seen a door that looks completely sealed? That's how some situations feel, but with heaven, sealed doors don't stay closed. The impossible prayer that works isn't a myth, it's real. People all over the world have experienced breakthrough by trusting this sacred connection to Saint Anthony. And now it's your turn. Don't let fear rob you. Fear whispers, nothing's changing. But faith shouts, it already is. With every word of this prayer, you are breaking ground. Spiritual roots are taking hold. The atmosphere is shifting. Your future is being written by hands that never fail. The God of urgent miracles is still on the throne. You didn't come here by chance. You were led, nudged, pulled into this moment because heaven has a message for you. Don't give up. The blessing you seek is not out of reach. It's already on the way. But your job is to stay in faith, to hold on, to keep praying, even when it feels slow, especially when it feels slow. Because often, right before the breakthrough, things look worse. That's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of movement. When things shake, it means foundations are being tested. But through this shaking, Saint Anthony stands firm, holding your prayer like a sacred offering. He's not leaving, neither should you. If you've ever cried out, God, do you see me? This is your answer. Yes, he does. Through the intercession of Saint Anthony, heaven is responding. It may not look how you expected, but trust this, when God answers, it's always better than what you imagined. And this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony is activating that answer now. So lift your head, wipe your tears, and dare to believe again. This is not the end, it's the beginning of something divine. A breakthrough that was already scheduled in heaven's calendar. You just had to show up in faith, and you did. Now let God do what only he can. If your spirit feels the shift, if you believe something divine has begun, comment now. My miracle has already started. The hope that perseveres in silence. There is a moment, often hidden from everyone, where the heart whispers, Lord, are you still there? It's not rebellion, it's not doubt. It's the voice of a soul that's been holding on too long with too little to show. And this is where many lose their miracle, not because God didn't speak, but because they stopped listening. But Saint Anthony, the bridge between despair and heaven, meets us in that silence. He walks softly into your tiredness, into your long unanswered prayers and whispers, hold on just a little longer. Because the truth is, silence doesn't mean absence. Waiting doesn't mean rejection. And if you're listening to this now, it means your miracle prayer today is still alive, beating quietly beneath the noise, growing in the unseen, being prepared in the supernatural. Many think that powerful Catholic prayer for miracles always comes with noise, thunder, lightning, shouting. But often, the most powerful shifts come in silence, while you sleep, while you weep, while you go about your day still believing, even if your heart is bruised. That's where heaven writes the next chapter. Imagine someone applying for job after job, door after door closing, no interviews, no callbacks, just silence. But then suddenly, an email, a yes, a new beginning. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the result of a very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony, persistent faith and divine timing aligning behind the scenes. The silence is not your enemy. It's the soil where miracles take root. It's where impossible requests begin to form, deep in the spirit, stretching your faith, preparing your heart to receive what is greater than you imagined. Saint Anthony walks with you through this valley. He doesn't rush you, he carries you. When God is silent, he is not idle. He is orchestrating, adjusting, protecting, and Saint Anthony's intercession ensures that even your sighs reach heaven, that your tired hands are still lifted, that your faith is still heard, because this prayer that works instantly is not measured in seconds but in surrender. How many times have you heard, if it was meant to be, it would have happened by now? But the things that carry eternal value often take time, and you are not waiting in vain. Saint Anthony is in the waiting, he is in the delay, he is in the longing, and he is already preparing what you cannot yet see. Let's talk about relationships, those hardest prayers. Maybe your spouse left, maybe your child doesn't call, maybe love turned cold, and the home became heavy. You've tried talking, crying, begging, and nothing. But what if I told you that family restoration begins when you stop trying to fix and start letting God heal? Prayer to Saint Anthony for your family is not about changing others. It's about inviting heaven into the atmosphere of your home. It's a call for divine intervention, a request for hearts to soften, for peace to enter, for words to matter again. That's the power of praying, not reacting. Some of you are dealing with money so tight it hurts, counting coins, cutting meals, hiding bills. You're ashamed, but you shouldn't be. There is no shame in struggle. The only shame is in giving up. And this emergency prayer for financial advancement is designed for seasons like this, when you've tried everything and need something more than human hands can give. Heaven has never lacked provision. Even in famine, God sends ravens. Even in drought, he brings rain. The same God who fed thousands with a few loaves sees you. He knows your account. He knows your deadline. And through Saint Anthony, he is already sending answers that make no earthly sense but divine purpose. Now, what about healing? The kind that seems to hide. Maybe you've seen no change. Maybe the report was worse than before. Maybe you've accepted pain as your permanent condition. But stop. Refuse that lie. Because this miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony calls on the God who still heals, not sometimes, but always. Healing is not always sudden. Sometimes it's layered, progressive, quiet. But it is happening. Whether in your blood, your bones, your emotions, or your mind, Saint Anthony's intercession is moving the healing power of God into your story, even now, even in silence. And for those who feel like they've lost themselves, hear this. You are not too far gone. You are not invisible. This is not the end of your identity. This is the beginning of your rediscovery. Prayer to Saint Anthony for finding lost things isn't just about objects. It's about lost faith, lost dreams, lost worth. He specializes in helping people find what matters most: joy, peace, direction. And if you're listening, it means those things are already finding their way back to you, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but always surely. You are not forgotten in this fog. One man once gave up completely. He said, "If nothing happens by tomorrow, I'm done." That night he whispered one last prayer to Saint Anthony. The next morning, a friend sent him money he didn't ask for. A job opened up. A breakthrough came. Because when your faith says, "I will stay," heaven says, "I will move." The enemy works hardest in the waiting. He whispers, "It's too late. Nothing is happening. You've wasted your time." But here's your truth. Impossible prayers that work are fertilized in the soil of persistence. It's not about how loud you pray. It's about how long you hold on. Saint Anthony reminds us that prayers don't expire. They build, they stack, they rise like incense before the throne. And one day, often unexpectedly, the answer breaks through. Because faithful prayers always bring faithful answers. So don't despise this season. Don't curse the waiting. Let it grow you. Let it teach you to lean. Let it anchor you. And trust that this silence is not empty. It's full of preparation, alignment, and supernatural activity behind the curtain of your life. You were not called to give up. You were not built to break. The same God who parted the Red Sea is still making ways today. And Saint Anthony, the holy protector of desperate cases, is already holding your cry in his hands, offering it with reverence to the Father who never fails. This prayer, this one you're in right now, is not a routine. It's a realignment. It's heaven tuning your spirit to receive what has already been released. You don't need to force the miracle. You just need to receive it. Let go. Trust, stay rooted in this moment, because even now the shift is happening. The unseen is becoming seen. The seed is breaking through the soil. The silent room is echoing with angels' footsteps. Saint Anthony's intercession is unlocking doors, restoring faith, and delivering healing that you didn't even know you needed. This is not imagination. It's revelation. It's what happens when faith partners with heaven. Your obedience to stay, to keep listening, to keep praying. It's the signal heaven needed. It's the trigger for what comes next. And what comes next will be worth the wait. If you're still holding on through the silence, believing through the stillness, comment now. I trust God, even in the silence. The strength of invisible intercession. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't come with fireworks or angels singing. They come through a quiet shift you can't explain. And more often than not, that shift begins through intercession. When you can't pray, when you've said all the words, when your heart is just tired, that's where Saint Anthony steps in. He becomes the voice that cries out for you when you're silent. He becomes the hands lifted in worship when yours are too heavy to raise. He becomes the one who enters heaven's courts with your name in his mouth, and because of his holy favor, heaven listens. This is the divine mystery of powerful Catholic prayer for miracles. So if you've ever said, God, I don't even know what to pray anymore, know that your silence is still being heard, because intercession doesn't begin in your mouth. It begins in your surrender. And St. Anthony, the miracle worker of desperate cases, is already moving where you cannot. Picture it. A woman kneels in silence, too heartbroken to speak. Her marriage is collapsing. Her finances are gone. Her faith feels numb. But across heaven's threshold, Saint Anthony carries her spirit's cry like a sacred offering, whispering, Lord, help your daughter, and heaven responds. That's what makes this prayer that works instantly so powerful. It's not about you getting everything right. It's about trusting the one who stands in the gap, the one who says, even if they're weak, I am strong. And when St. Anthony intercedes, the impossible becomes possible. You might not feel it, you might not see it, but somewhere, right now, things are shifting because of miraculous prayer to St. Anthony. Things are turning that logic can't explain. Relationships are mending, debts are being forgiven, healing is beginning, because intercession changes things you'll never see coming. Prayer to St. Anthony is not a ritual, it's a relationship. He doesn't just pass along your message. He carries it, he guards it, he surrounds it with his own history of miracles. That means when you pray, you're not alone. You're joined by centuries of faith, power, and holy authority. And don't underestimate what that authority can do. A man once prayed to St. Anthony for a job after being unemployed for a year. The next day, a stranger walked up to him in a grocery store and said, "You look like someone I need to hire." That wasn't chance. That was intercession in motion. So if your heart is weary and your hope is thin, let this be your truth. You don't have to do this alone. Through this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony, you are entering a partnership with heaven. You are linking arms with the miraculous. You are stepping into favor you didn't earn, but are being given. And what about the prayers for your children, the ones wandering, rebellious, cold? You've said all the right words. You've done all you can. But there's something Saint Anthony can do that you can't. Reach their hearts in ways your voice never could. That's family restoration through divine reach. Some wounds don't need more talking. They need more praying, more surrender, more faith. And this infallible prayer to Saint Anthony is the vessel. It carries your pain, your longing, your deepest cries straight to the Father's throne with holy urgency. And yes, even in the middle of a financial emergency, when the numbers don't add up and the deadlines are too close, intercession still works. Saint Anthony doesn't just comfort the poor, he opens supernatural doors of provision. He reminds heaven that your needs are real and time-sensitive. People have testified, bills paid, jobs released, checks in the mail they never expected because of one consistent prayer. Saint Anthony, I need urgent help. Please intercede. And in his mercy, he does. Because the God of heaven responds to faith partnered with intercession. Let's not forget the healing prayers, the ones whispered with trembling lips over hospital beds, over quiet diagnoses, over aching bodies. Saint Anthony lifts these to the God who still heals, who still revives, who still restores what medicine says is impossible. You may feel like healing is out of reach, but heaven's hand is not short. Through this miracle prayer today, that hand is stretching toward you now. Maybe not how you expected, but in exactly the way you need. Healing is not just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, generational. And sometimes the greatest miracle is peace in the storm. Peace to sleep, peace to breathe, peace to wait without anxiety choking your chest. That's the kind of peace Saint Anthony carries. He doesn't remove the storm, he silences it from within you first. There's a woman listening right now who's lost her sense of worth. The mirror doesn't reflect who she once was. Life has dimmed her light. But hear this, Saint Anthony sees what you've lost, and he's here to help you find it again. This is a prayer for finding lost things, even if what's lost is yourself. You were created with purpose, with calling, with a destiny that's not cancelled by failure, mistakes, or time. And intercession brings that purpose back into alignment, even if you can't see it yet. Trust that it's happening, because that's what faith does. It walks before sight. It believes before the answer. And it clings to intercession like a lifeline, like a promise, like a holy anchor in the storm. You are not praying alone. You are not crying alone. You are not forgotten. Not in this prayer, not in this moment. Let the enemy try, let the world doubt. But this sacred truth will not be shaken. Saint Anthony's intercession is more powerful than any opposition. His prayers do not return void. His voice is heard, and heaven is already answering. So if you feel something stirring, if your chest feels warm, if your tears are falling, don't ignore it. That's heaven moving. That's intercession breaking through. That's your urgent miracle waking up inside your circumstance. Even the impossible can't stand against prayer, especially not prayer wrapped in love, desperation, and trust. And that's what this is. A cry from earth met with a move from heaven, a divine collision of pain and promise, and Saint Anthony is at the center of it. Right now, angels are moving. Right now, decisions are being influenced. Right now, healing is forming. Right now, favor is being released, not because you forced it, but because you prayed, and Saint Anthony interceded. And that's enough. So lift your eyes, hold your heart, and know this: your name has been spoken in heaven, not with judgment, but with mercy. not with delay, but with divine acceleration. This is your moment to believe it. If you believe St. Anthony is already standing before God with your name, write in the comments, "Heaven is moving for me now." The spiritual surrender that transforms. There's a sacred power in letting go. A moment when you stop wrestling with life and start trusting the one who holds it. It doesn't mean you give up. It means you give it to God. This is the kind of surrender that St. Anthony teaches us. A surrender that doesn't end in defeat, but begins in victory. Because the truth is, some miracles only arrive after we release control, after we unclench our fists and open our hearts. Through this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles, we don't just ask, we trust. We say, "Lord, take what I cannot carry anymore." And in that moment, heaven responds with peace. St. Anthony knows what it means to carry heavy things. The weight of brokenness, the pain of unanswered questions, the burdens no one sees. That's why he's not just a saint of lost things, he's a saint of surrendered things. He brings what you let go straight into the hands of God. You've tried to fix it, you've worked, cried, fought, but nothing has changed. That's your sign. Not to quit, but to surrender. Let this be the day you stop carrying what was never yours to fix. Through this miraculous prayer to St. Anthony, give it all to the one who can. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, "God, you know better. You love deeper, you see further." And that's the moment everything begins to change, not because your situation suddenly shifts, but because your heart finally rests. And that is a miracle in itself. Think about how many times you've stayed up all night, worrying, replaying, planning, and yet worry never solved a single thing. But one moment of true surrender, it can unlock doors, release provision, heal wounds, and bring peace you didn't think was possible. That's the power of this prayer that works instantly. Imagine someone who let go of a failing business, a crumbling marriage, a rebellious child. And instead of panicking, they knelt and prayed. They whispered, "St. Anthony, I surrender this." Take it to the Father. And somehow peace came before the breakthrough did. That peace was the first miracle. Because true surrender is the soil where trust grows. It's the ground where impossible requests finally take root and flourish. When you stop striving, you make space for God to move, and He always moves in surrendered hearts. You may feel like surrender is the last option, but in Heaven's eyes, it's the first step. St. Anthony doesn't wait until you're perfect. He meets you in your breaking point, and in his hands, even your brokenness becomes an offering. Are you holding on to fear, to shame, to the need to control every outcome? Lay it down, speak it out. Lord, I let go of this burden. Do let St. Anthony carry your cry. Let him walk it into the courts of heaven. This is the sacred act of spiritual restoration. And for those dealing with a financial emergency, surrender doesn't mean apathy. It means saying, "God, I've done all I can. Now I trust you to do what I can't." And in that moment, you'll feel something lift, a heaviness leaving, a supernatural strength entering. Let's be honest, money can feel like chains. But chains break when we stop worshipping the weight and start trusting the provider. Prayer to St. Anthony for financial help is not a magic trick. It's a holy shift in focus, from panic to peace, from fear to faith. You may still see the bills, but now you'll also see the blessing coming, unexpected checks, new opportunities, cancelled debts, open doors. This is how God honors surrender, by showing up in ways we didn't expect. That's miraculous prayer to St. Anthony in motion. Surrendering your finances doesn't mean being careless. It means being confident. Confident that the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills also knows your account number, and he cares. And Saint Anthony's intercession brings your request to the front of heaven's attention. Now let's talk about the relationships you can't fix, the apologies that won't come, the silence that screams louder than words. You've done all you can, and now it's time to surrender. Let go of the need to be understood, the need to be right, the need to be in control. Let God do the mending. Through this prayer for family restoration, you're not just asking for change, you're choosing peace in the process. You're saying, even if they don't come back yet, I'll trust that God is working in their heart. And that kind of surrender, it moves heaven. Some family wounds are too deep for human hands, but not for divine ones. And Saint Anthony, the restorer of homes, lifts those wounds to the one who heals all things. Your surrender is not wasted, it is sacred. And healing, oh, how it flows when we surrender. Not just the healing of bones and blood, but the healing of memories, traumas, identities. Sometimes healing doesn't begin until we stop begging for answers and start trusting the healer. That's the power of this miracle prayer today. Your pain is real, but so is God's promise. And St. Anthony stands in that space between what hurts and what heals. He takes your aching soul and says, Lord, let your mercy flow here. And mercy always flows to surrendered places. Have you ever felt like you were praying and nothing moved? That's not a sign to stop. It's a signal to surrender, because the louder the silence, the closer the breakthrough. This is not the time to give up. It's the time to hand it over. You don't need to fix the outcome. You need to trust the process. Let go of the timeline, the logic, the expectation. God's ways are not ours, but they are always good. And this infallible prayer to Saint Anthony places your needs in the safest hands. You were never meant to carry it all. Not the debt, not the diagnosis, not the drama. Let it go. Lay it down. And watch how peace rushes in to fill the space where fear once lived. That's not just relief. That's restoration. That's a miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony unfolding in real time. Right now, someone is feeling a soft nudge in their spirit, a call to trust deeper, to believe again, to surrender the fear, the bitterness, the hopelessness. If that's you, don't hesitate. Say it aloud. I let go. I trust you, God. And feel the shift begin. This is not weakness, it's warfare, and you're not alone in the battle. Saint Anthony fights with you, for you, beside you. His hands are not empty. They carry the weight of your prayer, and heaven hears every word. If your heart is ready to surrender what you can't carry, comment now, I let go and trust in God's miracle. Complete confidence in the miracle. There comes a moment in every journey of faith where you stop pleading and start praising. Not because you've seen the answer, but because you've finally believed it's already done. That's what complete confidence in the miracle looks like. And that's what Saint Anthony wants to awaken in you now. This isn't blind hope. This is bold faith. The kind of faith that walks on water, that dances in the storm, that looks at a locked door and says, open in Jesus' name. It's not about seeing to believe. It's about believing so deeply that seeing becomes inevitable. That's the essence of this miracle prayer today. If you're still waiting, still hurting, still unsure, don't worry. Confidence doesn't mean perfection. It means trusting God's timeline more than your own feelings. It means letting peace speak louder than fear. And Saint Anthony, through this powerful Catholic prayer for miracles, is helping you walk in that peace. There's a shift that happens when your heart moves from doubt to trust. It's almost imperceptible at first. a breath, a calm, a knowing. But then it grows. And suddenly your entire spirit starts to align with heaven. Your language changes, your posture shifts, you start expecting breakthrough. That's when you begin to say things like, "My miracle is already here." Not out of denial, but out of divine agreement. You realize that what you were praying for is already on its way, and you start preparing like it's about to knock on your door. That's not fantasy, that's faith in motion. Saint Anthony is your companion in this journey of certainty. He's seen countless people walk this path before you, the desperate, the doubters, the ones who felt they had no strength left. And yet, through this very powerful prayer to Saint Anthony, something shifted. And what was once impossible became real. You may not know how the answer will come. That's okay. You're not called to figure it out. You're called to believe, to live as though the blessing is already yours, to speak with the authority of someone whose name has been written on heaven's miracle list. Even your attitude changes. You stop panicking when the phone rings. You stop fearing the mailbox. You start smiling at problems, not because they don't exist, but because you know they're already being handled by divine hands. That's what impossible prayer that works does to your spirit. You no longer feel the need to control every detail. You wake up knowing you're not alone, that angels are working, that decisions are being influenced, that someone, somewhere, is already preparing to bless you without knowing your name. Yet, that's how God works, through alignment, through orchestration, through divine timing. And St. Anthony's intercession ensures you don't miss what's already been released for you. So walk in confidence, not arrogance, not passivity, but holy confidence. Confidence that the financial emergency is ending, that resources are coming, that open doors are already turning in your favor. You may not have seen the deposit yet, but heaven has already written the check. You're just waiting for it to clear through faith. And in the area of family restoration, you don't keep rehashing the past. You start preparing for reconciliation. You set the table. You open your heart. You forgive even before they apologize. That's faith at its most powerful. That's prayer to St. Anthony becoming prophecy. You speak life over your home. You call peace into the room. You stop rehearsing what went wrong and start thanking God for what's about to go right. Your words become weapons of faith. Every thank you is a key. Every I believe is a door swinging open. Healing becomes your new normal. You speak health over your body even when the symptoms linger. You lay hands on yourself and declare wholeness, not because you're ignoring the pain, but because you're choosing to trust the miraculous prayer to St. Anthony over the report of man. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as a child of a faithful God, one who heals, provides, and restores. You don't deny reality, you elevate it through belief. You bring heaven to earth through your faith. Even when you feel discouraged, you remember feelings are not facts. Your faith is stronger than what you see, and St. Anthony, holy intercessor for desperate cases, is not praying weak prayers. He's praying with fire, with authority, with access. So lift your chin, straighten your back, and declare, "This is the day my life changes." And believe it. Let your actions follow your words. Speak to your bank account. Speak to your marriage. Speak to your health. Speak with confidence, because the miracle is already in motion. You're not faking it. You're faithing it. And there's a difference. One is pretending, the other is prophesying. This is the season where your words must match your belief, and your belief must align with what heaven has already declared through St. Anthony's intercession. If you've lost something, anything, your confidence says, "I'm already on my way to find it." That's what prayer to St. Anthony for finding lost things activates. Not just return, but restoration. And not just restoration, but elevation. You start walking like the answer is already in your hands. You stop begging and you start blessing. You bless others. You give even when you don't have much. Because you know you're not running out. You're being refilled every day by grace. Grace that carries you, grace that lifts you, grace that tells you you were never forgotten. St. Anthony, with every whispered plea, is bringing your name before the Father, not to plead in desperation, but to declare in boldness, this one believes. So believe, completely, not halfway, not occasionally, not only on good days. Believe now, believe always. Let your life be the testimony before the testimony. Let your confidence become contagious. Let others wonder why you're so calm. And point them to this miraculous prayer to St. Anthony, because when people see your peace, your joy, your strength, they'll want to know your secret, and you can smile and say, it's already done. Not because you're special, but because your God is. And he listens to the voice of his saints, so declare your breakthrough even if your hands are still empty. Prophesy restoration even if the house still feels broken. Say thank you even if the answer hasn't come yet. That's confidence. That's trust. That's power. And that's how impossible requests become testimonies. Your miracle is not just coming. It's already unfolding right now as you breathe, as you believe, as you type these final words in prayer. Heaven has moved. The answer has been released, and your heart is finally ready to receive. If you believe your miracle is already unfolding, type in the comments, it is done. My miracle is here. Mine final blessing. Oh, blessed St. Anthony, we stand at the end of this prayer, but the beginning of something sacred. Your hands, filled with mercy, now carry every name spoken here before the throne of God. Let no tear be forgotten, no cry be dismissed. May the heavens respond swiftly to every urgent miracle requested. This moment is not the closing, it is the releasing. To those crushed by financial emergency, let divine provision flood your household. Let jobs appear, debts dissolve, and unexpected favor overflow like rain on dry ground. May every seed of faith planted here return as a harvest of abundance. May doors that were locked now swing open with supernatural force. The God of provision has heard your cry. To the sick and weary, may healing rush through your body like light through darkness. Let pain lose its grip, let breath return freely, let sleep come peacefully. May every diagnosis be overturned by divine authority. For with God nothing is impossible, and through miraculous prayer to St. Anthony, restoration is already moving. To families in pieces, may this prayer become the bridge between silence and reconciliation. Let spouses rediscover love, parents and children reconnect, and households ring with laughter once again. Family restoration is not a dream, it's a promise already unfolding. Let peace reign where chaos once ruled. To those who feel spiritually lost, may the flame of faith be rekindled in your heart. Let hope replace confusion and divine clarity illuminate your next step. Through powerful Catholic prayer for miracles, may your identity be restored, your purpose revealed, and your soul renewed with divine strength. To every hand that prayed, every eye that wept, every heart that stayed till the end, receive this blessing. Your miracle is in motion. It may arrive in silence, in surprise, or in sudden overflow, but it is coming, not because you earned it, but because you believed. Let favor follow you. Let peace anchor you. Let joy return with power. May every prayer you've whispered become a testimony you shout, and may your life shine so brightly that others come to know the miraculous power of St. Anthony through your story. Where there was confusion, let there now be clarity. Where there was despair, let there now be dancing. Let your spirit leap again. Let your expectations rise again. This blessing isn't just for today, it's for the life that begins now. May your home be a place of glory. May your hands be used for good. May your words bring healing and your presence carry divine peace. May your nights be restful, your days purposeful, and your heart deeply fulfilled. This is more than a prayer. It is a new beginning. Step into it boldly. Walk in it fully. Live as if everything has already changed, because in heaven it has, and earth is about to catch up. As you rise from this sacred moment, don't rise the same. Rise with authority, with expectation, with purpose. The impossible is now possible. Your miracle is already in motion. Let me ask you, do you feel it? That shift in the atmosphere? That weight lifting from your chest? That quiet peace replacing anxiety? That's not imagination. That's the supernatural presence of God moving on your behalf. What would change if you truly believed that your breakthrough is already written in heaven? How would you speak differently? How would you pray differently? How would you live differently? Would you forgive quicker, love deeper, give more boldly, trust with less hesitation? You've just spoken a miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony, and you're not the same person who began this video. So tell me, what are you expecting now? What blessing are you preparing for? What doors are you believing will open? Declare them, believe them, walk toward them, because your life is about to become the evidence that faith still moves mountains. If this prayer spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who is hurting, who is waiting, who is one prayer away from their own breakthrough. You might be the reason someone receives their miracle today. Click the like button now, not for the algorithm, but for agreement. Your simple act of faith helps this prayer reach more hearts, more homes, more people in need of a touch from heaven. Be part of the mission. Be part of the miracle. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. This is not just a video. This is a movement of faith, and we want you in it. Every new prayer released is another door that can open in your life. Finally, type Amen in the comments and share this with your family, your friends, or anyone who needs to hear that Saint Anthony is still working miracles. Let's flood the world with prayer, hope, and supernatural victory, one heart at a time.